Before we get into this episode, I just want to tell you guys that this episode is brought to you by Africa's premium online poker and sports betting platform, pokerbet.co.za. So make sure to subscribe down below. You can follow the link below, create an account, and join in on the fun. Have a kick-ass time.
Cameron Saaiman, ladies and gentlemen. Cameron Saaiman taking care of business. Wow. That look says it all.
Thank you so much for being in studio. It's absolutely amazing to have you here. The business, old school, we can see a massive rise, especially since the World Cup. And my first question is just, that must have been a lot of work. And how was it experiencing the World Cup for what it was? And obviously your products going hand in hand. How did that go?
Yes, Cam, firstly, so lucky being here. I think it's been such a crazy journey because, I think a lot of people sort of think, yes, you guys had a very big success over World Cup, but I think they also don't realize like we've been building this business for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
But yes, like a lot of things I think worked in our favor so that like in that World Cup period, we were absolutely like just also lucky at how much things came our way, like Nike being the official merch sponsor had no stock available in the market, like Sportman's Take a Lot. Everyone was like on our door asking, and like initially we were like, no, we don't want to give you, we'll do it online. And then later sort of we just opened the gates. But I think obviously me and my brother booked a one-way flight to France before the quarterfinals. And we were like, we're not 100% sure we're going to win the quarter. So we didn't book a return, but we were cocky enough to know like we have a good chance of going.
Okay.
So we just booked a one-way because our reasoning was like, let's see it. But being in France for that 3 weeks, like in a foreign country and seeing how much people wear your product was like, mad. It was
that
very
must have
cool.
been amazing because we saw reports of a journalist saying that you can hear "how's it" more than bonjour in France, but also seeing some of the videos and seeing your products in the streets of France, that must also be, it must be very rewarding to see the hard work come to fruition. And you also mentioned the luck, but it's like your preparation and the opportunity that met each other, So going back 4 years and just starting old school, was that always the vision or the idea of the brand?
No, look, I think like me and my brother both were like, I would say always like mini entrepreneurs. Like we would sell rocks if we could have, And I think the idea in 2019 was just like, we liked the sort of vintage cotton jerseys and no one was doing it. And we were like, but let's try and pre-World Cup, try and sell something. Made a Facebook, like an Instagram account and did a giveaway for like a product that didn't exist. We just copied one from the internet. We were like, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're giving this away just to test if people are interested. And then we had like 10,000 comments. We're like, oh, I'd love that. I'd love to win this. And we're like, well, if everyone wants to win this, like, let's pre-sell it. And then we made a product of a photo that didn't exist and like pre-sold it. And we sold a few hundred units. And we're like, shit, like people want it. And then we started to like make the product, but we didn't have any website. And also 2019, like, I mean, it feels like crazy to think, but people didn't really shop as much online in SA at least 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like womies would ask me and my brother for like a pic with our ID. So we had like always on Instagram, our reply was a photo of us with our ID with our bank details because they wouldn't want to pay, scams and online and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how it started. It was always just more like a once-off thing. And then like obviously when we saw the traction we got, we were like, but flip, like maybe there's a opportunity. So back then it was just called old school rugby jerseys. But I think it was sort of the vision to change it into old school sort of happened in 2021. Like over COVID, I was like a bit bored. And then post-COVID, we're like, but wait, like what if like old school's domain was available, like oldschool.co.za. And we're like, but what if we just become like this high quality, like modern gentleman, but vintage, like old school sort of. And then, I think like the rugby jersey is and was still like a very big focus. And then like, I think now sort of post World Cup, it's like, how do we go from here? Like, how do we make sure we're not like a fad,
Yeah. Because you also started the business while still having a full-time job, so did the full-time job also help you with starting this business?
Yeah. So I mean, like, I think like obviously now I'm a chartered accountant, but I was basically my whole articles, I was building this business on the side. So it actually, it taught me like such good discipline. Like I almost think like these people that like train for the Ironman. You know, a lot of people train just for the August and then they think it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's once you try training for something really crazy, you figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
So I think like it was just, I knew I had to manage a full-time job with trying to build this. And I was like, it actually went hand in hand because, and the one business I was able to grow it, but it wasn't on my own money. So it was like playing Monopoly. Like I'm growing, I'm testing, I'm hiring people, I'm growing it, and like, oh, that didn't work well. Great, lesson learned.
Yeah.
Oh, we spent so much money on a TikToker because that was all dollar-based budget.
How much money did you spend on a TikTok?
Obviously, it wasn't my money, but it, like, so in short, what happened was like when I just for it was absurd. But anyway, for context, like when I walked in at like the VAT IT was the company's name. Like they started a new e-commerce division, and they had like all these chartered accountants from Investec and Deloitte that they like brought together to build the new business.
Okay.
And then I was just like, I've always been very like like I was a bit cocky. I was like, hi, I run it. Like we didn't really have a big site then, but I was like, hi, I run a Shopify site. I understand e-commerce exceptionally well. Let me join this team. As like a 20-year-old, knew really nothing. I'm articling, and they're like, okay, cool, join. And that business grew from like 6 to 100 employees in a year. But I was just one of the first 5 that was like, I'm running the marketing division.
Yeah.
And it was mad because like this 21-year-old was like, I had like a few $100,000 budget.
Yeah.
And like I needed to get us leads and grow the business. So I think we paid like for an Amazon TikToker, we paid, I think it was like $12,000 for 2 videos. And I was just like, I thought it was a brilliant idea. And honestly, we didn't get a single client from it. Yeah. But like the crazy thing is like I would go into this like meetings and report about it. I'd be like, hi, this week we spent X amount and we learned it didn't work. And then the crazy thing was like, they were like, awesome, thank you. Let's not do it. Because they were just like, for them, it's like VAT IT is enormous, like it's like $1 billion business. So for them, it's like an R&D project. You learn by making mistakes.
Yes.
It was just expensive mistakes, but like
that was them.
And like the other time I came up, so like if you go on like my Instagram, it looks as if I was just traveled the whole world always. It never was on my budget up until this year. It was always on like me going for the company. But that was like the other thing. I went to them and said like, brained idea. We need to go to conferences because we sit in South Africa and our clients in the US, we need to go. And they're
that's
like,
a brilliant
cool,
idea.
Let's go. What conference? And I gave like Vegas, New York, LA, all of them. And they're like, great, approved. Now do the budget, like go to these conferences. I'm like, ooh. So then like, but it was like I said, it was a crazy time to learn. And in that, like I was able to see, but you can't build anything big by not taking risks, by not like trying things.
Yeah.
And I think my mind opened up when I was in the US, how big e-commerce actually is, right? Because in South Africa, it's still like people see online as like a substitute, like a additional stream of income for retail.
Yes.
Whereas us, it was like, let's build an enormous business online because
Yeah.
we can build it like lean, not too much overheads. You can focus on ad spend. You can like be very meticulous and like driven by the numbers.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what we did, you know? And I think that experiences of seeing how other people grew their businesses was for me, I was like, flip, but if they can do it, really, I can too. You know, they're not that much better than me, these, you know, and I think that was sort of a lot of like the learnings where it was like, I always would see old school as like a small business until like, even if you turn the revenue to dollars, it's like, then it needs to sound big.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult in SA with a 19 Rand to $1. But yeah, that was sort of my experience and sort of how it came. And then like, obviously this year, the business really started like growing. And then we had like the big collab with Dricus and Still Knocks. And then when he won his fight, plus it was like gearing up for World Cup, I walked into like my boss's office and just like said like, I cannot do both. Like I need to take that sort of leap of faith, which was daunting because on the one side, up until then, I was able to do both.
Yes.
But, you know, I was scared because now you're leaving like a stable CA income for like just trying to sell rugby jerseys for a living.
Yeah.
But it was very cool. And I think like, obviously those few months, it definitely made like, if I look back, the business wouldn't have been able to grow to where it could or where it is now if I didn't like only obsessed about that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You mentioned the Still Knocks range as well. And what was the thought process of doing that? Was it also just to veer away from just doing rugby jerseys? Was it more to support? Obviously, Dricus is a massive star. Was there a type of focus on going into other sports, but because we can see you guys developing products,
Yeah.
keeping to that core identity, but more veering to different sports. Was that always the plan?
Yeah. So I think with Dricus, it was like prior to the Whittaker fight, I think it was sort of like realizing like he is, and I mean before the Whittaker fight, the odds for him to take that fight on paper
Yes.
wasn't
Yeah.
good, But I think it was like we knew like we need to make sure we try and blow up like or grow the brand before that fight, because if we try and do it afterwards, you'll stand in a line of type of people that want to
Yes.
work with him in the clothing space. So the idea was just like as a like leisure wear or like a rugby leisure wear brand, because of our SA supporter jersey, we can't really sponsor a Springbok because they can't wear our like it would be like,
Yes.
so it's like who else has the potential to like be like a global name, fill into that like old school values, like be able to unite SA and where we could build a range for him that fits into like supporting, because that's sort of our brand's a lot based on, although I'd love to think we're a leisure wear brand, like we are still mainly a supporters brand. If you go look at like our revenue like split.
Yes.
And then it was sort of saying what I think he fills that category of like that, and I think it obviously worked out really well.
Yeah.
And now obviously for him fighting for the belt, it's amazing because we have all of these clients that bought into our SA range that we are hoping are like, I bought one product, I love it, like, and now you're getting ads like, oh, okay, let's just support Dricus. So I think it could work out well. But yeah, it was a very, I think the timing of it was good for both of us, because I think prior to the Whittaker fight, he also actually needed someone to make a proper range for him and not just like a cheap t-shirt, and I think the timing for both of us was well, and I think how busy he is, like we know we get a few hours once every 5 months, and in that time we need to shoot every content we have, so I think we also not a lot of admin to him, because like we get our shit and then we market wild,
That's
know.
awesome.
So
that's great. With the future of the brand as well, and the rugby at a pivotal point, I think you also posted a photo where you guys had to move storage spaces as well. So you had to move do the Dricus stuff during his fight and then the World Cup all at once. Do you have a big team doing all this for you, or are you guys still a small company in terms of just employees hands-on?
So that was like why it was so crazy. Is like in April, especially like when we were making movie about Dricus, we literally was like in a like not a. I mean, you were there. It was a very small. Like it's not a big space. We had like 4 people on payroll. We had a few people helping, but literally only 4 employees, except for me. And then like by September, we were on like 15 staff. So we had to very quickly go from 4 to 15. But like we in that World Cup period, we needed more people, but we sort of had a lot of like temporary workers. And the nice thing with Instagram is like when you at old school, like because we have a nice follower size, like if we need help, then you always have like 10 people saying, can I come work? Can I get a jersey for free or whatever? And then so we actually had a good temporary base structure. We have a lot of people that are on standby, like students or stuff, but they know the business. So like when it gets crazy, there could be 30 people in the warehouse, but like we tried to not add too much overheads that like post that we, like losing money.
Okay.
But
awesome.
the people, like everyone in the team had like way too much to do in that period. So it was like, but it was nice because like you could see who has it and who don't, because it was like almost like the like testing their character. Like if you made it through World Cup, I'm like, congratulations, you can work here forever because you've proven you can work really, really hard if you need to. Which I think is like, you don't always know what is in people until like it's really a tough time. And I think character only gets shown in those periods. So that was very nice because we could sort of early on see who is really actually incredibly hardworking and like would do that extra mile. So that was quite nice.
And then we also saw the transition from mainly being online to you guys having these pop-up shops as well. Was that also just to get more fan interaction, get more feeds? Was that something that you were like, okay, I'm not busy enough, let me give myself another challenge?
It was more like it's so funny. Like I had zero like market research before we just opened these shops.
Okay.
But my theory was literally based on like brands that are like more like SA local brands prior to me and seeing their like growth. So like Freedom of Movement now has 22 stores. Burnt, that's a few years older, like they opened stores and they kept opening stores. Sealand opening stores all the time. I'm like, I didn't like before that World Cup, I was like, I don't know why everyone's opening stores. And then I'm like, but wait, if everyone's opening stores, it has to mean it works. That was my logic, is like, if they're opening stores.
So that's the only market research you
And
did.
I was like, where do they have stores? Because if they have stores, they've probably done market research, you know, like, and if they're still open, they're probably profitable.
So you did the copy and paste method.
100%. I literally went like, where do they have stores? And like, where do I think, that was it. That was literally it. And then we like opened 3. And then obviously it really, really worked. And I think it's weird because in South Africa, retail works well because like we still have those impulsive shoppers in person, and so much people want to feel something before they buy. They're so, especially fashion, they're like very conscious of the fit and how it feels before buying. And it's like, it's so funny. Like a lot of the store people, like the store managers or employees would say, everyone that comes in says, oh, I got an ad from you guys, so I wanted to come check it out. But it's so funny because we would keep marketing to these people at like losses because they're like just the type of people that never buys online. You know, it's mad. Like the one day, there was like the retail manager in Hazelwood said there was a mom that took a child from like near Bloemfontein and drove through. They like took their kid out of school, like afwesig for the day, just to come fit. Like they drove 250, 300 kgs.
Because they don't trust those measurements online.
No, they needed to come see it. And then like they're happy, they bought 2 shirts and drove back. I'm like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insane. We actually drove yesterday. We drove from Bloemfontein back home. That's a killer drive for 2 shirts. So it's But I do think it's also a massive thing. I think the target audience that you guys have is very patriotic in that sense. They want to feel like they belong, and especially, and I do think at the height of the World Cup, you got to feel that. Like everyone is like, at least let me wear something green, just for some. And then I can imagine you guys got harassed for some of the supporter shirts, and it's really cool to see you guys have these pop-up shops because it's fun. I think we also have a lot of guys that like browsing, walking around, killing time, and then they see something they like, and like you said, that impulse buying. I think we have an impulse shopper here next to us. She likes to shop,
and it's crazy. Like, you know, we are mainly like, we obviously, like, I would say we are much more like a male leisure wear brand. We obviously have like, but 60% of our shoppers is female, but 80% of our orders are male products. So it just shows you how weird, like, a lot of the times it's female impulsive shopping for males.
For males.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is like a weird, like, and it's like and then also on like the ads, it's like the photos with girls on is the men buying. And so it's so it's like a girl wouldn't like click on a girl's ad. They click on they'll click on a.
So it's just a bunch of people buying presents for
each other. Like, yes. And it's like sort of a mixture over like, we're like halfway through, we're like, are we a gifting business?
So you are licking your lips when Christmas comes. You're just like,
I'm hoping. So I mean, that's why we like. I think Christmas is such a weird one because we said, like, once again, like, everyone needs a Christmas gift. It's like it's just this trained in us. Like, I think South Africans actually take Christmas pretty seriously.
They do, yeah.
Like, if we look about it, so that's why we like trying to open stores in areas where we know the Christmas shoppers are, but like where also like. Where's like sort of that high revenue type of shoppers, because we don't want to fill our stores with people that's not going to buy. Like, that's like a false. You don't have a busy store but no one's buying. You want a store where people walk in, they don't even look at the price tag. They take their products and they walk out. That's why like we targeting Plate, Hartenbos, Diaz, like Struisbaai, Hermanus, because we're like, you can't be there in December. It's too expensive these days. Like those, like all of those destinations, like you go on Airbnb, you can't almost find anything. And it's already crazy price.
It's booked, So with the, I think there's a lot of industries that are super overpopulated. And I think like clothing especially, everyone wants to start a clothing brand, and everyone wants to at least try and sell something, but I don't think people understand how hard it is to get quality materials in South Africa.
It's horrible.
And it's was that one of the biggest challenges in growing the brand? Was actually the product itself? Was that like the toughest challenge in ensuring that you guys have high quality gear with you all the time?
Yeah, so I think like I'm still like I honestly, and I think like me and you had that convo like a while ago. I still think clothing is actually a horrible industry to be in because it's fast changing, it's high returns, people are unsure. I would way rather just sell protein or sunglass or something that's like low return. Like it's
Yes.
like selling dog products. It's amazing because you'll never know if your dog's unhappy. Like it's a fantastic industry. In the US, it's like a booming industry, like dog supplements or whatever, because it's a But
Yeah.
clothing, people are like very meticulous. They want a certain fit. They want to feel. They're like so. It's horrible. I think it only gets good once the brand is strong because then you can like the weird thing with clothing, and I think Versasock said it to me, which was so interesting. It's only once you start ordering by containers that your price goes down and your quality up because the people that can manufacture a lot are only there because they're the best.
They're the
But
best. Okay.
their minimum quantities are usually so high because they don't want to do 50 unit or 100 unit runs.
Yeah.
So that, but yes, quality has been like such a difficult thing. And I think for the first 2 years, I didn't really care about it, to be honest. And then I like once we started adding people that are like more product people, like I'm more
Yes.
like a sales and marketing guy than a product guy. But once we started adding product people, I started realizing how horrible the product was and like trying to make that SA product really good because we realized you need people to, once they buy it, advocate for it. Like most men, especially men, like if you like something, you rebuy that.
Yeah.
You
100%.
don't go and try 50 different places. Like you go and shop, so
That's so
I think
true.
that's what we trying to do is like trying to build good enough products so that once we launch new things, it's like, oh, I really like the rugby jersey. Like I bought only it because I was like in the hype, but now I'm buying other products because I trust them. Like so I think that's what we're trying to create. But yeah, quality is one of the hardest things because that's all you actually have. Like you're a hype, and then quality sort of is the only thing that can make the hype real, sort of. So it's interesting.
And with I see you have the polo on now, and you guys are now branching out to
Yes.
different type of clothing garments. Are you going to continuously look to develop the range and have a bigger range? Because I do also think it's hard having
So, more
100
product.
different type of products, and then you have to do it women and men sizes.
it's-
You have to
So I think like
It's-
that's the like one of the things that keeping me awake is sort of like that fine line of, and I think it's like, do you want to be known as a brand or do you want to be known for something? It's like think about Crocs or Birkenstocks or many brands. Like they actually just known for a thing that they did well. Like they the
Yes.
hype behind it.
Yeah.
And that's actually great. Like product expansion is hard because now you're trying to be well known for many things.
Yes.
So I think for us, I think that we like the more like the rugby leisurewear, the like rugby leisurewear niche or like that type of high quality thick cotton products. I want to, for at least for now, I want to make sure we only really known for that so that we
Yes.
can control quality and rather expand into different territories.
Yes.
But then retail in South Africa, you need to have a bit more products to like sell. So it's that fine line. And I think, a lot of times like it's not like people always think you need to have it figured out where we actually don't have it really figured out.
Yeah.
But this December will be a good test for us to see how people react to different products. And if we see it doesn't work, we know, okay, cool. We're sticking to our roots and we like rather trying to market it wider than product wide. But it's that trade-off. But like I think it is cool to be known for a thing and to be known that you do the best of it rather than doing 50 mediocre products.
Yeah.
So it's
Definitely. I think both have their perks, and being open minded, especially in an industry that changes quite a
Yes.
lot, is very important. So with a branch out, with everything that's happening, how many orders did you get for international shipping? Because that you see that a lot, especially it was very targeted to South African fans, but you have so many South African fans across the world. So did you guys see a lot, especially in the World Cup stages, did you see a lot of international orders
Yes.
getting shipped out?
So I think like in like August, we were like, we need to target London hard because it was that All Black game there. We were like, Netherlands, US, all of these. But then like we sort of made the decision to be like, there is still way more South Africans in South Africa than globally. So it was sort of saying, instead of going really hard on global communities, it was like, let's open shops and make sure like our supply chain in SA is
and
top.
your fans here
Yeah,
are taken
yes.
care of. Yeah.
But like obviously we still had like a good amount of online orders, but it was like still, I would say 2% of sales compared to SA. But I think like that now for next year, it's like now that we have a well-known year, try and reach out, because I think World Cup obviously united a lot of SA South Africans in Europe, because all of the like if you live in Netherlands or in the UK, it's a no-brainer to go watch rugby because it's so much cheaper than here. But all the Saffas that went with our jerseys, you know, now they you were almost like polluting the.
It's so crazy.
Yes.
It's like, yay, you have the
Yeah, I've
same
seen
shirt
that.
I have.
Yes.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, so I think that was like cool because that's why I think like our like the international will sort of really catch flame now post World Cup, because it's like we've like it's an iconic Unite SA product. And I also think now it's like sort of like I said, the focus now for the next 2 months would be on the retail and then like on Dricus with this build up, because if he wins, you know, he's a UFC champ, so it's sort of a mixture between the two.
Yeah. And it must have been, I saw you also post, make a post about these Springbok legends like Brian Abana, Wynand Olivier, Victor Matfield, all on the field. And I think it was the opening ceremony, or I think it was something. And was it cool to see these rugby legends also wearing a product meant?
It was like
especially
that was
meant for
probably
that.
one of the coolest things. Like I actually just before this had coffee with Wynand Olivier.
Okay.
So like it's so crazy because when they like approved the product and they loved it, I was like, wow, we're onto something. Because if an ex-player that would probably almost be finicky about wearing a stamp and not like an official tag,
Yes.
like this quality is amazing, I love this, I was like, shit. Like now we knew like if we get their approval on the product quality, then like you sort of have it. So that was so cool. And a lot of them, like I actually post that, they like reach out to me to meet and be like, yes, it's so cool. How can we help you? And like Oaks like Bismarck, I was a hooker at school. So I loved.
Yes.
I saw him so frequently in France to drink beers there while I was there. Like it's like grew up watching this Oak play, and I was like every day is like Birki, and then like, I can't say no to him.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that was so cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And after, so when it's also a business that has to keep on running, you know, so I can imagine it's quite hard to switch off. And when you do, is it like doing a travel like with your brother going to France, or what do you guys do in your off time, or is there ever that
I
in
think
this industry?
I think one thing I've like learned is sort of like if you work for yourself, it's like firstly it's a privilege that you're able to do it. So the fact that you have to sit on a beach in Nice and work is actually not like shouldn't be frustrating. So actually like in July, because I lived in London for the first 7 months of the year, and me and my fiance, we traveled a lot, and like initially I always got irritated if we're doing cool things and everyone's asking me for stuff and I'm like responding, but I get irritated. And like actually one day in Nice I had this like a what do you call it, epiphany or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like sitting on the beach, I'm like trying to respond to everyone, like confirm designs, like, and I was like, but wait, I'm drinking an Aperol, sitting here working, like why am I upset? Like this is what young Daneel would have dreamt about. So I think that day I just made that like peace with the fact that yes, I can't switch off, because every now and then, like in the middle of something or at night or in the morning, there's some sort of chaos you need to manage, but you control your time. So if you want to go and work from somewhere, you know, like in the World Cup, every time the Boca won, we just book like after the quarterfinal, we woke up and we're like, cool, let's go to Italy for the week. It's cheaper and it's hotter weather. Boom, go work there, like go swim in the middle of the day. Still work hard, but like I can work from there. Not everyone can do it. So I've sort of made that stance that yes, I almost never can switch off. Like also this December, like Christmas Day, I'll switch off, right? But I've got the privilege. It's more privilege than anything else. But no, switching off is very difficult because you're like always thinking of like ideas and people are, you know, and then if people start bothering you with stuff, you got to like give attention to that. But I still think it's actually just a privilege to be able to not switch off really.
Yeah. And also with fighting, we call it
Yeah.
fighter's curse, but like it's shadow boxing. So
Yeah.
you would like
The whole time.
you'll be standing in line waiting to buy groceries and you're just shadow boxing. And I do think the moment you go into clothing, you're probably just like checking out
yes.
material, looking at his
Yeah.
shirt,
No, I mean,
his pants.
like you saw before we walked in, I
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah,
I
you
was
were
like, oh,
literally
no.
just
Yeah. No,
just
like,
like
it is mad because, like you said, like everything is like you walk past people every day. Like I would, if you look at my phone, I'll randomly like from yesterday, I would randomly like see someone in the distance have a nice collar, and I would like take a photo and zoom in and screenshot like randomly because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that I can see that
could
working.
work. Yeah.
So that is true, but like you said, like same with you and fighting, like it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
But it's a great thing to have.
It's a great thing to be focused on that as well. And with the December holidays, with the transitioning, do you guys see the brand also moving away from rugby even more in the coming years, or do you think that's going to be the sole focus for the next few years?
I think like if anything, like I think there's two sides to old school. Like the one side is like sports, like obviously we do the supporters wear for the provincials as well, you know, and we have the license for that. But I like old school sort of in my head, in an ideal split, would have the leisure wear side, which is more high quality men focused, like leisure wear products that once we perfect the product, they'll just come back.
Yes.
That's the type of customer I want. That's buying 4 or 5 polos every year.
Yes.
Different colors, same color, just
different
the whole time.
Okay.
And then the other side on the sport, like the supporting side, I do sort of see the gap for adding more like licenses. So like do official in SA, I mean like Mamelodi or Kaiser or bringing Premier League teams or UFC branded merch or whatever. I do think, however, like step one is just making sure the brand is known for quality, because the moment we associate with another, like let's say NBA or UFC or something, if we don't have a strong brand, people will just like want that logo. So we are dependent on a license.
Yes.
Whereas if we build the brand stronger and you do collabs, it's a much cooler collab. So like ironically, 2 weeks ago, hopefully they don't listen to the podcast, but I was at the NBA's head office.
Send it to them.
At the NBA's head office in Sandton. And like there I'm sitting with like a big team of them, and I'm like the NBA for like Lakers, Bulls, everything. And they're like pitching me about how old school could do all of the NBA brands. And I was like wooed, because it's the most beautiful offices. I mean, it's insane teams. And like when I walked out, I just wanted to grab that opportunity, but I didn't really see it fitting in. I saw like old school vintage, like NBA stuff. I imagined it, right? But it was like saying, but I like when I walked out, I spoke to the like lady, you know, and like what she also said is, what you building with your brand is so cool. Like just be careful to dilute that. And I just realized if we just do an NBA thing now, it could do really well, but no one would really know it's an old school collab. They would just know it's a Bulls thing. Whereas if we build the brand but stronger in the next year or two, those opportunities will still be there. Like those teams will still be there, but the opportunity to grow old school would have gone away, you know? So I think that's why we're focusing on building our brand and then go and partner, rather than go sign big commercial deals and then you just become like a license, slave where you're meant to fight to get revenue so you can give royalties and, you know, and have to distribute product.
You don't want to be you don't want to become their manufacturer as well.
Exactly.
You know,
but that's what can quickly happen. So that's why we like build the brand, like make sure old school is cool. Like I still think it's a good gap. We have it. And now it's saying like, if it's just going to take time in market, like getting the product out there. And then if it fails, we'll always have that gap to just go into the supporting side fully. But just try and first see if the brand itself can catch fire before just starting to sign more and more contracts. So
this might be a bit of a hard question, but what are you excited for the most for old school in the next 3 to 5 years? Like, what is something that you're really excited about for the business?
I think if you say 3 to 5 years, it has to be international. Like I still think like South Africa is one of the best talent pools in the world. Like, and it's it's not an expensive currency to build a brand in. Like if
Mm.
you can earn dollars and pay rands over it, that's what long term I think would be amazing to be known as like try and tackle markets where there's potential to grow your products.
Yes.
In the next year or two, I would say it would be more so that we have, all those customers we have to get them coming back. Like to
Yes.
make sure 50% of people that bought a product, impulsive or not, that we get them something they like again. Because if we can build a customer base that come back for more, that would excite me in the short run. And long run would be to truly try and build something that has global like reach or global
Yes.
sort of relevance.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the split.
Have you ever had like a dream team that you would like to collaborate with in any sports or any? It can be a robotics team from Finland. Is there any team that you really hope on working with in the future?
I think I'd had these conversations, but when I was in the UK, I sort of realized how big those football it's like a religion.
It's massive.
So I'm an Arsenal fan, but ironically, they're not the best. Like Liverpool or Man U as like global brands are just it's enormous. Like it is crazy how big those things are.
Yeah.
So if I were to collab, I think those two as like a vintage product could do
amazing
well. And anywhere actually. Yeah. So
and giving the history of Arsenal, I think it can also work very well.
It can, but it's it's so funny. Like when you speak to retailers, it's like I would think Arsenal sells nearly the same amount of shirts than Man U, where it's not. Like Arsenal sells double what Tottenham sells, and Man U sells triple what Arsenal sells. So it's like, and then like the other teams sell so it's like it's mad that if you look Prem, it's like 2-3 teams that sell 90% of shirts. Same in NBA. It's like Lakers, Celtics, Bulls sell 85% of all those 20 teams.
That's insane.
So it's mad. It's just like those global brands are only linked to a few, not everyone.
Yeah, I once watched this video of the absolute empire that Valentino Rossi, the superbike racer, that he has. His merchandise company is so big, it's fully owned by himself, that he has his own distribution factory, own manufacturing, and he does everything. Like obviously not everything. He has a team doing it, but he is one of the highest merch sellers in the world. And then you see these Arsenal to Tottenham to Man U, and then you go to Barcelona and you see everyone is selling Barcelona shirts. So you would say Man U is one of the guys that
I think it's commercially would be a very, very like hot product.
And I do think the weather also fits well with the quality of the
like
with
the more like
long sleeve.
So I think that that would be cool. But yeah, I think like that sort of more like on the sports side, and then I think like on like more from a brand collab perspective, like I think like it's actually mad. Like I'm still obsessed with these like luxury brands and just what amazing business like it is. Like Louis Vuitton, for instance, it is mad to think how much shit they own actually.
Yeah.
It's like he's the second richest man in the world.
Yeah.
And he sells products.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
It's mad.
Yeah. And it's also the diversity behind that business is absolutely insane. But yeah, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you for sharing the absolute success you guys are having. And I'm pretty sure that with this momentum going forward, I have no doubt that it's going to continue going this way. So thank you so much, and thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to go check out both Daneel and Old School. It will be linked in the description below. Do you have anything for the people? Do you want to say anything?
I think it's so cool. And yeah, Cam, I know like there's a few exciting things for you ahead.
Yeah.
It's just a massive privilege being on the show and seeing how you building your brand. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you guys so much. We hope you have a kick-ass day. Enjoy. Cheers.